House Ag Committee will come to order. For those members, could they please mark present on the order? Make sure we go through them. All right. To start off, we're going to, I guess, start off with Senator Stewart's bill because Delegate Orrock feels that he can carry the water.
Yeah, he told me I could so long as it passed, so yes. Yeah.
Wow,
So,
that remains to be determined.
Senator Stewart's bill, Mr. Chairman, is that there's a situation that's arisen where some jurisdictions have determined that horses being kept for hobby purposes are not agricultural animals, and therefore their barns need to come under local building department building code provisions, which are otherwise exempt because they're agricultural. So all that Senator Stewart's bill does, as you'll see on line 16, including the housing of livestock, will still remain exempt from local building code requirements. I would request an amendment, Mr. Chairman, that would be an enactment clause stipulating that it's declaratory of existing law, because there's just one county that is interpreted in this fashion. Unless we, create some murkiness within the court system that this isn't long-standing practice throughout the Commonwealth, we're just verifying this is what the law has always said. Be glad to answer any questions. I know there are folks from Farm Bureau here.
So first, Delegate Homer, do you have a question?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I guess I would ask Delegate Orrock, because I was looking at this bill, and in concept, I understand the problem we're trying to solve. When I looked at the code section that it references for what keeping livestock is, it has a whole bunch of different. So in that definition, livestock includes bovine, equine, I got all that. But when you start to get to Cervidae, Capridae, and then also some of the other genuses that are listed there, I wonder if we could, is there a possibility that this starts to impact some zoo animals? For instance, like one of those genuses is like a rare ibex would fall into that. And so the intent of the bill being great, are we running into a position where we might find ourselves that zoos and things like that are falling under a different definition than we intended?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to phone a friend.
Mr. Chairman, members of the subcommittee, Kyle Shreve on behalf of the Virginia Agribusiness Council. We cited that code section because it is the section in which you are responsible for the care of that animal. And if that's the case, then, and subject to the animal welfare provisions, then you ought to be able to build a proper housing structure to house them. We have not changed any other section of the code with regards to what's considered a farm when it comes to taxation, any other type of, the other thing I will point you to is 15.2-2288, in which we have not changed the locality's ability to regulate such operations should they pose a health, safety, or otherwise public health problem. And so this would not change those provisions as well, which we think provides perfect attention. And with the amendment added by Delegate Orrock, is just a statement of declarative what we should believe should already be existing law. We feel comfortable that that is not a concern.
Yeah, just, Mr. Chair, that makes a ton of sense. I just want to make sure. We had a number of bills that came, one bill in particular that was changing the search standard, which I think we were around for zoo animals in particular. And so I'm just trying to make sure that it might be an question for council, won't interact with that, because that would just for a zoo that kept some of the animals of which the genuses are listed here, could we be changing the search standard to more mirror agricultural operations rather than zoo operations? I always worry about those follow-on effects with a definitional bill.
Mr. Chairman, I would answer Delegate Helmer. We have not touched the search and seizure procedures or anything in that other code section. This is simply the right to farm definition, referencing that as to the pointing to the other definition when it comes to housing. So no, it does not change anything with regards to any of those care standards, and like I said, the zoo would still need to come under the definition of a farm for tax purposes, all kinds of other things that it should not touch.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And Mr. Chairman, just to save the committee time, Kyle Shreve, Virginia Agribusiness Council, we support the bill.
All right. Is there any other testimony in regards to this bill? And please keep it brief.
Mr. Chairman, Martha Moore, Virginia Farm Bureau, and we support the bill.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Joanna Faust from Fairfax County. We understand the importance of farming, but we just wanted to bring the committee's attention to the ripple effect this will have for localities, especially more urban localities. Under Virginia Code 15.2-2288.6, no locality shall regulate the carrying out of any following activities at an agricultural operation. So to include the housing of animals, and as Delegate Helmer pointed out, that it's really every animal other than a companion animal, horses, sheep, pigs, rabbits, this would have the ripple effect that then the localities would no longer be able to regulate this. This is in fact a pending case before the Supreme Court of Virginia on this very issue. Local circuit court did find that a riding stable that was going to put out the horses for people to ride was not an agricultural operation, and they ruled in favor of the locality. It's now pending before the Supreme Court, and the briefing finished last month, in December of 2021. So we would ask that they oppose the bill. Thank you.
All right, is there anybody else? Okay, Delegate Orrock, you had mentioned, I guess, the enactment clause. Okay, there is a motion to move the amendment of the enactment clause. Is there a second? There's a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. The bill has been amended. Now, we've had testimony. Does anybody want to? Pardon? No, that's the gentleman from VDAX.
I move the report, recommend reporting as amended.
Okay. Delegate Helmer.
Chair, just speaking to the motion. My understanding from the last couple of years here is that we generally, I was not aware that there's active litigation in front of the Supreme Court. My understanding as a body is we generally not engage in lawmaking when it relates to active litigation as a practice, particularly in this committee, and I just wonder.
Delegate Orrock.
Mr. Chairman, I understand that, and generally I would agree, but it's my understanding that the case is kind of centered around what is or is not an agricultural operation. And the only thing we're doing in modifying that definition is that the housing of any of these animals that are being raised for meat, crops, production of fruit, so forth. So I'm not sure we're actually, to the question of the lawsuit, changing what is or is not an actual agricultural operation, but just that if you have been determined to be in one, they've got to be housed properly, and that shouldn't come under local zoning requirements, or building permits, I should say. It does to local zoning, but.
All right. Delegate Runyon.
Associate my comments with Delegate Orrock, and I guess I'm a little bit confused about local zoning with RFPs. If we're in an urban setting, it would surprise me that we would have agricultural operations within there. And so the localities, in my opinion, already have a bill to regulate this. The other thing that gives me somewhat comfort, and I appreciate y'all's comments, is with the enactment clause, if we screw up, we got a shot at it. Right?
No? Okay.
No, it's.
This is declaratory.
Okay. I misunderstood. Thank you. Okay. So we would have another shot at it again if somebody brought legislation. So, thank you.
As I understand the current code system, when it comes to zoning and things like that, those are the authorities that the localities have, but then there are certain building permits, et cetera, that agriculture is exempt from. And so basically what we are stating is that in those regards, because this houses a horse or houses livestock, we're saying that they'll be treated the same as if they were in any other county.
I understand, but I would think that the zoning code would prohibit agriculture animals. At least they do it.
Yes, sir.
I don't see
Agree. So the motion before us is to report as amended. Would the committee please record their vote? Clerk, close the roll. Bill reports 6-2. All right. If it be the pleasure of the committee, I would also like to take up, because we had a bill that was very similar to Delegate Bell's bill, I guess SB 87. And I'm not sure if Stanley is here. Oh, we got D-Steph here, though. Actually, so let's change course. Senator D-Steph, since you're here.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, I have Senate Bill 279, Vicious Dogs. And primarily what this does, oh, hey, Sharon, good to see you. We've got a speaker, too. This does two things. This says basically in a jurisdiction like, I'll give you an example, Chesapeake and Virginia Beach or Chesapeake and Norfolk, if a dog commits an act in one and bites somebody in one jurisdiction and the folks live across the street in another jurisdiction, then the animal control officers can get them either in the jurisdiction where the dog bit the individual or where the dog resides. So that's the first thing it does. And the second thing it does, it puts this code section, the vicious dogs, in line with the dangerous dog code sections when it comes down to the hearing times. So it lines it up and says it shall be 30 days or within 30 days. One of the problems where they're carrying dogs or keeping dogs in isolation and sometimes up to a year, year and a half. So this puts dangerous dogs and vicious dogs in line with each other. That's pretty much the bill. It's pretty simple. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Chairman.
Delegate Ora.
Senator D-Steph, I understand what you're trying to get to, but I'm also trying to understand, would this in fact not create a circumstance whereby the bite occurred in Caroline County, but the dog is in Spotsylvania, where now a Caroline County animal control officer could go into Spotsylvania and seize the animal?
I think I'm going to turn that over to
Okay.
phone a
We
friend.
have
and
phone a
ask for
friend.
help.
And maybe Mr. Chairman can make a kind of further.
Delegate Ora.
For instance, if a deputy sheriff is in a similar circumstance, where the robbery occurred in Caroline, but they know the perpetrator is in Spotsylvania. They're going to go to Caroline County, swear out a warrant. That warrant is going to be communicated to Spotsylvania, and an actual Spotsylvania officer will make the arrest. How is this different?
It's not, I'm Sharon Adams, I'm representing the Virginia Alliance for Animal Shelters, VOS, and representing the Virginia Animal Control Association. It's not different. I call this bill the cleanup on aisle 9 bill. All we're trying to do with this bill is to conform it to what you adopted last year.
I was sleeping.
And, well, wake up. Okay, so I'm going to tell you what you did. What you did is what we're asking on dangerous dogs in that statute is exactly what we're asking you to do with regard to vicious dogs. That's all we're doing. And on the multi-jurisdictional thing, you're absolutely correct, Delegate Orrock. I just wanted to take a moment.
I don't hear that often from you.
But that's exactly what would happen, is that the officer in the jurisdiction where the offense occurred would coordinate with the officer in the jurisdiction where the animal may reside. And so what we're doing, we think this has always been in statute because there was language in the old statute that says any officer that had reason to believe that there was a vicious dog in his or her locality may do blah, blah, blah. We changed that when we cleaned up dangerous dogs, and we needed to just conform that to vicious. Thank you.
All right. Are there any other questions from the committee? All right. Let's take testimony. Is she the only one that's signed up for testimony?
I guess that's it.
All right. There is a motion to report before us. Is there a second? Oh, we have a second. So the motion before us is to report properly seconded. Will the committee please record their vote?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, thank you very much. Not a problem. Happy to come over and explain it. That's just because I didn't send you cookies, huh?
Hey, I didn't
I'm
get
just
cookies,
teasing.
man. Sorry. No, we're good.
All right, guys. Thank you
Literally
very much.
Just to throw it on the regular calendar. No harm done. All right. Clerk will close the roll. Bill reports. 7-2. Senator Stanley. How are you, sir?
Well, how are you?
Please come forward.
My pleasure.
All right, Senator Stanley, we have numerous pieces of legislation. Should we start with the lowest number first?
That's fine with me, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Excellent. Well, please describe your bill.
I believe you're referring to Senate Bill 87.
Yes, sir.
Senate Bill 87 is a bill, quite frankly, that says that no dealer shall import or sell, including sale for experimental purposes, any dog that has been bred by a person identifying as a corporation that's received from the United States Department of Agriculture pursuant to enforcement of the Federal Animal Welfare Act, either one, a citation for direct or critical violations, citations or regulations adopted thereunder under the federal regs, or two, a citation for a direct or critical violation, or citations for three or more indirect, non-critical violations. This bill has also been amended to have an effective date of March 1st of 2023. This bill emanates from, of course, what we know to have occurred in Vigo. Myself and Senator Marsden visited in Vigo in November, did a surprise inspection, and basically you've seen some of the videotape from PETA. You've seen some of the violations and the summary reports on those. I believe Delegate Bell has a similar bill without the limitation of the start date being March. We did that because what we want to do is, if we're not to eliminate them, then we want them to get their act together, and in enough time, then if there's one more violation, then that's it. We're not going to be, as a policy in the Commonwealth of Virginia, allowing a corporation to treat man's best friend in the ways that we've seen them being treated.
So, Senator Stanley, question. Is that the primary difference between your bill and Delegate Bell's bill, is the time frame?
Mr. Chairman, I'd answer the chairman by saying yes. That's my understanding.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions from the committee? All right, having none, I guess we will go to any testimony. I will say that Delegate Bell's bill was had ample testimony. If you have anything new, please add it. Otherwise, just say we support or oppose, and that's it. So we'll take testimony in favor of the bill first. Oh, sorry.
While you're doing that.
Delegate Orr, go ahead.
This is going to be headed.
Second.
Well, never mind. I guess Delegate Orrick likes to clear the field. All right, so properly before us, we have a motion to report and properly seconded. Would the committee please record their vote? Pardon? Well, motion's been made, so. Clerk will close the roll. Senate Bill 87 is recommended for reporting, 9-0. All right, Senator Stanley. Next up is Senate Bill 88.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of this committee. Senate Bill 88 is a reporting bill. As you know, this committee is well aware that we have a requirement of our releasing agencies to make certain reports to the state veterinarian on an annual basis, where they submit a summary of their records with regard to any dog or cat that they have in their possession. That includes, but is not limited to, sale or transfer, if the dogs or cats are euthanized, and the total number that is there. In this bill, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, this now holds those entities that breed dogs or cats for experimental purposes to be held to the same standard as those releasing agencies that make the same type of reports to the Commonwealth of Virginia. So that is basically the bill that allows and brings in line basically these breeders who breed dogs for experimental purposes in line with pet stores, releasing agencies, and the like. And that's the bill.
So
Mr. Chairman,
is there a
I'm sorry.
substitute to this?
Yes, in fact, I do. Why ruin the surprise?
So, hold on. Come to order. Delegate Ferris. I guess in line with the surprise substitute, could staff, I guess, describe what this does versus? Here we go.
I mean, I could give it a shot, but I'd rather let the author take it over from here.
Mr. Chairman, the substitute has more extensive reporting requirements. Hold on just a sec, let me get caught up.
Mr. Chairman.
Delegate Orok.
Senator, am I correct? If I understand the proposed amendment, it basically is just mirroring what federal requirements for record keeping and disclosure are, so that they would then be available for our state personnel to have access to as well. Am I correct?
Mr. Chairman, I'd answer the gentleman by saying exactly right. And everything that falls under the Animal Welfare Act, 17 U.S.C. 2131, that sequence.
Okay,
that would be.
I guess there's been a motion to move the substitute and properly second it. All those in favor say aye. Aye. So the substitute is properly before us. So Lisa, what is the basic difference?
So, Mr. Chairman, the basic difference is that it still requires record keeping. The requirements for what are in those records are much more specific and a little more extensive, mirroring a lot of the Animal Welfare Act. And then the bill as introduced would require the entity to submit annually records to the state veterinarian, and this would require them to submit the records quarterly to the veterinarian.
Okay. Are there any other questions from the committee?
Mr. Chairman?
Delegate Will.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'm just wondering, so what this is doing, is that standard practice for every facility that has animals for testing and so forth? I mean, and this applies, it says, I mean, the way I read it, every single animal.
Mr. Chairman, I'd answer the gentleman by saying our releasing agencies, because they receive euthanasia drugs, and in order to receive those type of drugs, they must report on an annual basis or on a basis dictated by the state veterinarian exactly how many dogs they take in, conditions of dogs, how many dogs are transferred out, or the disposition of the dog if the dog is euthanized, for what reasons. We do that so that we understand exactly how these releasing agencies, who we give licenses to, are operating. In this instance, this is with regard to Invigo. Now, as I said before, I've been to Invigo on 2 separate occasions. On the last occasion, and the USDA was conducting an investigation. Part of the problem was they didn't even know how many dogs had died, where they were. They did not have a full accounting. And quite frankly, one would think if one had, I mean, let's just think of it in the same way as cattle, then a farmer knows exactly how many head of cattle, where they are in their vaccinations, where they are at any one given time, why they might have had to been put down, or whether they transferred or sold them, or traded them to their next door neighbor. That's called good business. In this, we're talking about the commodity being a companion animal. And in that light, then what we're trying to do is just to make sure that, so we don't have this happening again, they keep good records, and we won't have the kind of tragedies that we saw in this past fall. And I think it's only fair. We make pet stores do it. We make humane societies do it. We make releasing agencies do it. I don't think it's anything that's too onerous for this business that should know exactly where its chattel is at all times to have to do this. And for us as a state who allow them to do this, to make sure that we're monitoring what they're doing and how it's going.
Okay. All right. At this point, it's time to take testimony, and if we don't mind, if the committee will indulge, because we have the patron of another reporting bill here, I'd like to take testimony basically on the reporting bills because it looked like the Senate passed a number out, and then I guess Senator Boysko has one, and then I'd like to discuss what yours does, and then the committee will act, and we'll move forward. If we
That's
don't.
fine, Mr. Chairman. I
If
would
the
only
committee's
add.
okay with that. All
Mr.
right.
Chairman, I would only add to Delegate Wilt's question that we in the Commonwealth of Virginia already make commercial dog breeders themselves. And commercial dog breeders that sell purebred dogs for sale do the same thing, same reporting requirements.
Excellent.
Thank you,
All right.
Mr. Chairman.
I guess Senator Boysko, if you could.
Go get it.
Mr. Chairman, I do like your tie because it does have dogs on it, and we are protecting dogs today. So I have the second of the reporting bills. It's SB 442, and it said that it would require anyone who breeds dogs and cats for animal testing facilities to report the information on a monthly basis, the number of animals that are in the facility, the number of births of dogs and cats at the facility in the prior month, the number of dogs and cats acquired other than by birth in the prior month, the number of deaths of dogs and cats at the facility the prior month, and whether each death was an assisted death or an unassisted. And if it was unassisted, the report should include the cause of death as best could be determined. That we would like to have the list of dogs and cats sold and transferred and released, including a separate list for the sale and transfer of dogs and cats in the Commonwealth. I do believe that we could roll the two together and combine them because I think they're complements to one another. They pick up different but also important and vital information. As you know, there were over 340 puppies found in the cages with their litter mates, and they seemed confused and surprised when that happened. That clearly we are not doing the best oversight of the facility as we, and we're the only ones who can oversee this.
Okay. I guess my first, does anybody have any questions for the patron?
Mr. Chairman,
Delegate Orrock.
more of a parliamentary.
Yes, sir.
It has not been the practice of the House in
You're
recent
right.
times to roll bills together.
That's
Rather,
true.
we determine which is going to be the vehicle, and then we typically lay the others on the table with the suggestion to the patron of the other measures that they would sign on as a co-patron of the one that goes out. So just.
That-
so the
that would be
Senate
Yes, sir.
suggestion.
That would be
And
correct.
so I'm the chief co-patron on his, he's
Oh,
the
are you?
chief co-patron
Oh,
on mine,
fantastic.
so we've been working together in tandem. I do believe that there is value in both of them.
So I
because they
guess,
do-
Senator Boysko, what is the primary difference between the two?
So his is talking about the sales and sending them out. Mine is talking specifically about births and deaths are the primary things that we were trying to accomplish in mine.
Okay. So question,
The
Delegate Orrock.
the danger if we try to pass them both out, only one becomes law, and that will be whichever of the two is signed later by the governor.
Okay.
So given that as I look at the two measures now with Senator Stanley's substitute, it is broader in nature than Senator Boysko's, so procedurally, we should act on that first. And if the broader measure passes, then the lesser measure is no longer validly before us.
So a question for staff. Does the substitute that was adopted on Senator Stanley's bill also now include the,
Language.
was it birth and deaths,
The
right?
births and deaths, I think that's what I was hoping that we would have.
It does?
It does,
Okay,
okay.
fantastic.
I was not aware
All
of that, so that's great.
Okay. All right. So with that, we have two bills before us. We have one that Delegate Orrock has correctly said that is broader. Is there any others that we need to? So I guess what is the will of the committee in regards to? Okay. There's been a motion to report Senate Bill 88 as a substitute. Is there a second? Okay, that motion has been properly made and seconded. All those in favor, please record your vote on the machine. And I apologize, we didn't take. Anyway, all right. The clerk will close the roll. That reports 9-0. All right, and I believe we need to do a subsequent motion, Delegate Orrock, in regards to Boy Scouts.
Oh.
Senator Boy Scouts bill.
Mr. Chairman, I move lay Senate Bill 442 on the table.
All right, and I would recommend we do that gently because we like the bill. So there's been a motion to lay Senator Boy Scouts 442 on the table and has been properly seconded. All those in favor, please record their vote. Senator Stanley, since we've done a couple of yours, can we finish up?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
If I might suggest, while Senator Boysko is here, given our action on Senate Bill 87 of Senator Stanley's, would Senator Boysko be opposed to a motion to lay hers on the table? Then we'll do it with her not here, so if she's amenable, I move to lay Senate Bill 457 on the table.
All right, I appreciate that, Delegate Orrock. So there's been a motion laid on the table. Is there a second? That motion's been properly made and seconded. All those in favor, please record your vote on the voting machine. All right, clerk, close the roll. Thank you. Thank you, Senator Boyce. And thank you, Delegate Orrock. All right, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next bill is Senate Bill 90. And the backstory of this, of course, is part of Envigo's problems, at least how they were articulated to us, and certainly we could understand, is they kept breeding during the pandemic. And there were no experimentations, no transfer and sale of dogs for breeding because there was no experiments going on. What we saw was a backlog of over 480 beagles that are now what they would describe as not useful for testing. And they've achieved a certain age. When we went and investigated with myself and Senator Marsden what was going on there, part of what we made a determination is that those 480 dogs might be, or the potential was, be euthanized. Envigo stepped up to the plate and has worked with releasing agencies to make sure that all 480 of those beagles, through some long negotiations between myself, Envigo, and the releasing agencies, and they're picking up almost every bit of the cost, will find forever homes. If Mr. Chairman remembers, a couple of years back, I passed this bill that said, in a nutshell, that any experimenting agency, that is to say that uses a cat or dog for experimentations, medical or scientific experimentations, when they'd finished with the animal, that rather than euthanizing that animal, unless it had to be put down, that they would work with an adoption agency to find that animal a forever home. Not only has that bill been successful, we now have places like Virginia Tech, VCU, that are actively involved in adoption programs when they've utilized animals for testing. That's an amazing, great first step forward. What this bill seeks to do, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, and SB 90, is add specifically, because I thought I kind of put it in there before, but to specifically add that also a breeder who breeds dogs and cats are for sale or transfer to animal testing facilities, if those animals, like those 480 beagles, have used up their usefulness or cannot be sold because of age, or maybe these are breeding dogs that have bred a number of times and cannot breed anymore, then rather than euthanize them, then they'll work with the releasing agencies to make sure that they find their forever homes and a loving home. And it shows and demonstrates by the efforts between Envigo and these releasing agencies right now that this works. It has worked, and it will work. And I think those animals who are subjected to whatever these experiments are for the betterment of mankind then deserve a happy ending that allows them to have love and be in a home and be loved by people who care for them. And that's the bill, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Delegate Orrock.
I propose a technical amendment. Senator on line 21 of the bill.
I think maybe Delegate Helmer caught it too. Go ahead. No, go ahead. Sorry.
Just in case, we left out the word "or" in one spot between breeder and animal. where it should be
All right,
either or
right,
animal
you're right.
testing.
Is there a motion to that effect? Second. Okay, the motion has been made to add or. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? We have one nay? No, I'm kidding. All right. All right. Are there any other questions for the patron? All right, hearing none, let's do testimony real quick if we could.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I was going to say, do you want more coffee?
Sharon Adams, Virginia Alliance for Animal Shelters and Virginia Animal Control Association supports the bill.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Tabitha Treelor. I'm the Director of Communications for the Richmond SPCA, and I'm also speaking on behalf of nearly 40 organizations that have formed the Virginia Alliance for Beagle Protection. We support this bill. It seems that you're inclined to do so as well, and we very much hope that you will move to report. Thank you.
Is that everybody? So, are there... All right, there has been a motion made to report as recommended and properly seconded. All those, will the committee record their vote on the voting machine?
Oh, Mr. Chairman, I'd also like to remind any member of this committee who would like to have a beagle between the age of 11 months and 15 months, mostly female, but I can attest that they are the best dogs you will ever have. Please contact my office.
Clerk will close the roll. Senate Bill 90, recommended for reporting 8-0. And Senator Stanley, I do have a question. How many beagles have you rescued?
Personally, or have we rescued under this program that this
personally.
negotiated? 2 that I'm willing to admit to.
And how jealous is Buddy Fowler?
Jealous. My kids would say jelly.
All right.
Raise your hand. They're wonderful. They are the best dogs you will ever have, I promise you.
Okay.
And,
all right. And
actually, Mr. Chairman, it's 4 because a friend of mine, Hermie Sadler, his autistic daughter who fell in love with my dogs, we were able to purchase a couple from Invigo.
Very good.
And it's made an incredible change and difference.
All right. Now, Senator Stanley, you have one more bill before us?
I do, Mr. Chairman. Mercifully, Senate Bill 604. This is, quite frankly, what we also saw was, if you saw in some of the videos of the investigative journalism by PETA, we saw some very horrific things that, quite frankly, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, that were done to these dogs. If I were to do them to my animals, my rescue animals, then I would be charged with animal cruelty. These are employees that were doing things that, quite frankly, are considered criminal activity, but for the fact that they're behind the fence. And I don't think that's right, nor is it fair, because no person, no matter what their station in life, is above the law. And quite frankly, we need to treat companion animals with the care that they deserve, even if we're using them or utilizing them for experiments. Now, I believe also Delegate Orrock and I have just had a conversation about maybe there's a better way than my inartful drafting where we can do this in a very clean way. But what we're trying to do basically is hold everything to the same standard, that if you're going to have these dogs, breed these dogs, sell these dogs, you're going to be humane to these dogs and cats.
So Delegate Orrock.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, with the patron's consent, I'm going to propose an amendment to the legislation on line 103. After the word animal, strike the rest of line 103, all of line 104, and through 105, animal on 105. And then again on line 106 after chapter, strike the rest of 106, 107, 108, the new language there. And we would insert on line 103 after animal, comma, game species, or animal actively engaged in bona fide scientific or medical experimentation. And then would pick up, shall be considered a companion animal for the purposes of this chapter. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, what that would do is stipulate the only exemptions to the companion animal standards that would exist in code would be farm animals, game species, and dogs and cats actively engaged and a bona fide scientific medical experimentation program, so that the raising of these animals would come under all the existing humane standards and cruelty under existing law. The further amendment, if we adopt that, would be strike everything below line 236, because we don't need to amend the cruelty to animals provision because it's covered, because we've said these are companion animals. No matter what you're raising them for, you're going to raise them under the same standards and cruelty provisions as companion animals. I think the patron especially liked this second part because that also deletes the reenactment clause, the fiscal impact, and those other things that might keep this measure from going into effect this year.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
So,
And I appreciate the efforts of Delegate Orrock very much.
and Lisa, help me, I would say, Mr. Chairman, the language actively engaged in bona fide scientific or medical experimentation is drawn from other sections of code where we stipulate they don't come under the cruelty provisions.
So Delegate Orrock, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so in regards to that, this is, if we're talking about animals used for experimentation, et cetera, I mean, could that encompass a farm animal, like if we're doing research on cattle feed or any of that stuff, or does the exemption on the next line for agriculture animals still hold?
That would still hold. The fact that we're taking agricultural animals out of this cruelty section already there, that's not changing.
Right.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Delegate Will.
question for Delegate Orrock.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Help me understand the wild game.
Well, we're not changing that. That's already exempt from cruelty under companion animal standards. What we're clarifying here is in the existing law, we're basically saying if these animals are being raised for testing, do they have to comply with companion animal standards of cruelty? And that's what we're cleaning up here, that only when those animals become actively engaged in a testing program do the normal animal cruelty protections they would have if a dog or cat won't apply.
Right. Because up to this point, they've been exempt. So when the dog is born, they can treat it cruelly and inhumanely and not be charged with a crime that you would be charged with, say, if you acted in the same way. This cleans that up and makes them treat them humanely.
Okay. So there's been a motion to adopt the amendment and properly seconded. Delegate Helmer, do you have a question to that, or just a question for the patron? All right, so let's do the amendment first. The amendment has been properly made and properly seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. Delegate Helmer.
Mr. Chair, this is just from my understanding. This is for animals bred for testing. This will only apply to dogs and cats. Is that, am I understanding that?
Mr. Chairman, I'd answer the gentleman by saying yes, dogs and cats that are bred for animal testing, unless in the wordsmithing by Delegate Orrock there's something else. But yeah, that's what we're driving at. And they are determined in the Commonwealth of Virginia to be companion animals.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In my opinion, sorry, just because I know we do testing on animals for various things in the agricultural world, feed efficiency, et cetera. I just want to ensure that the language doesn't encompass any of that.
Mr. Chairman, that is exactly what I want to make sure that we're making that distinction.
So we're good.
Mr. Chairman, the current law that exempts agricultural animals from the definition of companion animal would remain in place, and then we'll specify this is for dogs and cats, not animals generally, for the new language that we're putting in.
Okay. Fantastic. All right, so this would be a substitute. Okay. All right, now is the time for testimony. All those in favor of the bill, please step forward.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. My name is Daphne Nekmanovich. I'm representing People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, but I will also speak for the Virginia Coalition for Beagle Protection. Thank you, Delegate Orrock, and thank you, Senator Stanley. We wholeheartedly support the bill. And just to give you an idea of the number of animals at Envigo that were used for research during the USDA inspection in July, there were 53 animals, 20 dogs and 33 cats under the research part, and 5,035 beagles in the breeding part. So this is going to make a difference for those 5,000 plus animals, and we thank you and urge you to report the bill. Thank you.
All right, next.
Sharon Adams, Virginia Alliance for Animal Shelters and Virginia Animal Control Association. Thank you very much Senator Stanley, for all your work on this. And Delegate Orrick, we appreciate the effort to clean it up. We think this is going to make enforcement somewhat easier to do. It's a clearer version. Thank you. We hope you support the bill.
Yes, my name is Heidi Krosky. I'm with the Virginia Animal Owners Alliance, and we support the bill. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kara Moran with Virginia Positivity, and we support the bill.
Good afternoon, Susan Seward, the Virginia Veterinary Medical Association. We strongly support the bill. Thank you, Delegate Orrock, for fixing this. Appreciate it.
Ooh, you fixed the bill. Tweaked it. All right, is there anybody in opposition? Okay, do we have anybody online? We do not. All right. All right, there's been a motion to move to report as substitute. Is there a second? Is there a second? Second. Thank you. The motion has been made and properly seconded. All those, would the committee please record their vote? Clerk, close the roll. 604 reports, 9-0.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Senator Stanley. We do have to eat in the agriculture. I understand. I believe I see Senator Marsden in the back.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Since we're on the topic of Envigo and the research readers, I have Senate Bill 535. If I could get into just a brief bit of history. As in my role as chairman of the Senate Companion Animal Subcommittee of Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources, when I heard about the difficulties last summer that Envigo was going through, Senator Stanley kindly agreed to accompany me out there for an inspection and a discussion with the individuals out there in Cumberland County, which is located about an hour west of here. At that point in time, Senator Stanley adopted a dog, and we left with the understanding they were going to try to get things in order. When the pandemic took its full toll on the facility, it is not an excuse but an explanation. They had, like everybody, had problems with getting people to come to work, hiring people during the pandemic. A number of things took place, and they had some, very, very, very poor inspections by USDA back in July and in October. And although things were getting a little bit better, it takes a long time to turn a battleship around. This is a big organization. You kind of have to wrap your arms around going to some place that can hold up to 5,000 dogs. And so what I've set out to do here is to not set out a lot of impediments or ways to close them down, but to try to solve the problem. These are people's jobs. Medical research is still, an important thing that research animals are needed for. I wish that wasn't the case, but it is. Research is hopefully continuing that will save the life of my loved ones and your loved ones and what have you, but we have to treat these animals better. So what I have proposed in this bill is that there will be a fee charged to this facility by VDACs, and that fee will be no less than $100,000 to pay for an animal oversight inspector that would report to VDACs, and the state veterinarian would have 24/7 access to the facility to enforce any and all regulations in place, be they state, be they federal, and what have you, and report to VDACs. And ultimately, what this bill does is leaves this in the hands of the General Assembly. If we find that they're just not doing well, we don't have to come up with some kind of a score or regulatory procedures that have gone through. We can make the determination as to whether we want them operating in the Commonwealth of Virginia. What I didn't want to happen was them to pull up stakes, go to some place, start all over again, and not have go to a state where they're not going to be regulated, not going to be looked at. We are somewhat responsible for allowing this mess to be created in our own state, and I feel it's our obligation to solve the problem. And we did create an advisory committee that will include, they'll be chaired by the state veterinarian. It will include a couple of local residents, a veterinarian, be chaired by the state veterinarian, and have a member of the Humane Society or an appointee of the Humane Society on this board to keep oversight over how VDACs and this inspector are doing their jobs. And they have made a commitment in Vigo to do $5 million in renovations to the facility to deal with the infrastructure parts of their problem. They're increasing the number of employees, their salaries, and they're making an investment in trying to get this right in Virginia. Whether they can do that or not, I do not know. I do know I wanted to give them an opportunity to succeed in a structured way, as opposed to just, having a lot of legislation being put in place that if you stumble, you're out of here. There are some of those in the future, some of those limits that have been set by bills you've passed today. But the thing is, this is the last chance, and I feel like we're treating in Vigo fairly. We're treating the need for research animals seriously, and that this bill will accomplish that. And if it doesn't go well, you or me or anyone in the legislature can begin the action to remove them from the Commonwealth of Virginia, but we'll have given them a structured opportunity to succeed. And that is what the bill does, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. And it's a serious effort at trying to solve the problem and not just put in a lot of proscriptions against this and against that and trip wires and what have you. Let's give them an opportunity to succeed. It's people's jobs. It's people's lives. Let's treat it seriously, and that is the bill.
Okay, questions from the committee. Delegate Wilt.
Was that
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry.
What do we have? We have a substitute? All right. Senator Marsden, could you describe the difference between the substitute and the original bill?
Lisa, you've looked at it
The most?
more recently. Could you report the changes?
Mr. Chairman, the most substantive changes are on the reporting. If you look at line 30, beginning on line 37, it talks about the quarterly reporting. It now sets out specifically what the report needs to include. It also requires on line 29 that if the research breeder, as they're called in this bill, fails to allow the oversight officer access to the facility twice, then they can no longer sell animals. Part of the requirement of the underlying bill was that the oversight officer be allowed 24/7 access.
Delegate Goditis.
I was just wondering, Mr. Chairman, if the patron knows, are there other breeding facilities for research in Virginia?
I am not certain as to the whether that would take place, but under this bill, I would believe they would fall under that.
Delegate Orrock.
Yeah, Senator Marsden, I appreciate where you're coming from. I guess as I'm looking at the proposed substitute in light of the actions we've already taken this evening, I understand your testimony relative. We don't want to shut the door on them overnight. And given the actions we've taken on Senator Stanley's bill, that basically says we're not going to look at any of the previous federal infractions until March of next year. So you've got until then to clean things up. As of July 1 of this year, you've got to start treating the animals in your custody under the normal care you would give normal companion animals in a raising environment. And the reporting requirements of Senator Stanley's are very similar to the ones you've got in your measure. So why do we need yours given, as I first look at it, I'm thinking, would we not be in a better position to let Envigo keep the $100,000, use it in improving the facility? With the other legislation we passed, I think we're granting access to local animal control to go in if they feel there's animal cruelty violations as of July 1. And yet it would allow the business to continue if they just clean up their act and save them $100,000 and not create an advisory board for one business in the state.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, Delegate Orrock, one of the concerns that I have, one of the things I tried to do last year to help this situation was say, hey, look, I told a lot of the folks who were very concerned about this place that we had we would have a voluntary, they're not required to be investigated by the state or managed by the state or inspected by the state, but they said we will allow the state vet to come out and look at what was going on in our facility. And the state vet went out there, but he's not an investigator. He didn't have a set of regulations. He wasn't looking at USDA regulations. Right now, we're in the process of creating a 2-year process for regulating pet stores. They're supposed to be done this October. But this way, you have an actual investigator looking at different standards as opposed to the normal kind of investigation where you're or what you might be suggesting here is that somebody goes out and if they see something they don't like, that they close you down. What we want to do is what this bill provides for is you're doing it through the standards that already exist and the ones that may be added, and that we can treat these folks professionally and fairly.
Delegate Wilk, and then Delegate Homer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would wonder, so there's still going to be an operation?
This is correct.
Yeah, there's still going to be an operation, so the animals are breeding and so forth. But so an infraction or two happens. Forgive me, I don't remember exactly what you said. But at that time, boom, it stops. No more selling of the animals.
That is correct. As of right now, March 1st would be the date where it would start. It would have to be a critical violation as described by USDA because we really don't have our own set of standards for research breeders. We have them for shelters, and I believe, and if I'm correct, we're trying to create them for pet stores. And just to let you know, this is other information. I'm hoping, as a result of all this, that there is a money in the budget for a pet store investigator, and the number of pet stores, I believe, is going up. We're starting to see more of people go into that business. We have a position that hasn't been hired yet that was into the budget 2 years ago, and we put this in, and that we form a congregate animal inspection division at VDOCs that can look at pet stores, that can look at breeding facilities, that can look at any place where congregate animals are kept in large groups. It is a very, very difficult thing. The shelters do it very well in Virginia, and I think with that kind of oversight paid for by the people who are the offenders here, is the solution to guide them into a better future for these animals and for their business.
Delegate Helmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of questions for the patron, if that'd be okay.
Delegate Helmer.
Mr. Chair, I'd ask the patron, as I understand this bill versus Senator Stanley's bill, the reporting requirements here are actually not reporting requirements for the facility, they're reporting requirements by the inspectors. Am I understanding that correctly?
The inspectors will have to report, but then it's up to the General Assembly as to what we do with that information. And that's just a matter of turning in a bill to say, in our judgment. I don't know whether this is a proper analogy, but you remember when the General Assembly had control of the Menhaden? Anything that was determined, it would come to us as opposed to VMRC or a regulating body. In this way, this is coming directly to us through VDACs, and we can make determinations ourselves as to whether we want this facility to continue in our state.
So Mr. Chair, what I'm understanding from that is, okay, so it's a different purpose than the bill because where the report is doing this, the actual oversight mechanism. One question I had for the patron, and I wondered whether it changed. I see there's that it shall be no less than $100,000 component.
Correct.
I wondered if, since they have the opportunity to establish the fee, irrespective of that, if we really need to set a floor, or if we could just allow that to be established without a floor.
I was, in terms of the drafting of the bill, that I think DLS felt that was an appropriate thing to get us into the right range. There might be a need for a little bit more than $100,000, to deal with some of the expenses of the advisory group, and pay for mileage and travel for the investigator, things like that. But VDACs, I think, will set the fee based on what the need is, like any budgeting process.
All right. Since I think we've exhausted the questions from the committee, let's take some testimony. All those in favor, please step forward.
Mr. Chairman, Sharon Adams, Virginia Alliance for Animal Shelters of Virginia Animal Control Association. I understand that there is some conflict around this idea and that there may be some desire to go with where we are. I would like to just speak to the inspection function for 1 second, and this is from a person who ran a facility that was inspected for 22 years. If I'm going to, let's say I'm in construction in Virginia Beach where I live, and I'm going to build 4 units. I'm going to pay the city of Virginia Beach a permit fee in order to do that business. And that permit fee is going to allow the city of Virginia Beach to send an inspector to my job and make sure that I'm in compliance with the Virginia Beach Code. So having the business engage in paying a fee, enabling them to perform the tasks of the business, and part of that being inspection, is not an unusual aspect for Virginia. That's okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And I do have an issue. My apologies. I thought we were dealing with a previous substitute that would apply. The substitute that I asked you to adopt is one that came from the industry that I did not want introduced. So we're back to the original.
Oh, so you like, hold on, procedurally, we've got to go back to the original bill. We didn't adopt it? Oh, okay, well then never mind. Well, thank you.
Mr. Chair, move to report.
Hold on, we need was that testimony for? Is there any testimony, still more, or testimony against? All right, what's that?
Mr. Chairman?
Procedurally, we've taken testimony for. We have not taken testimony against. Or is there more for? Okay, we are back to the original bill because we never did adopt the substitute as
Good afternoon.
my procedural person over here
Good
says.
afternoon.
So those against the bill are for?
I'm for the bill in its original form,
Okay.
not for the substitute. Sorry, we misunderstood earlier the bill.
Yep, sorry. No,
So-
we are in the
Okay.
original posture.
Okay, thank you. So Daphne Nekminovich, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, and my colleagues will speak on behalf of other organizations, but we support the bill. Thank you.
Holly Hazard for the Virginia Federation of Humane Societies, and we're in support of the original bill.
Karen Moran with Virginia Positivity, and we're in support of the bill.
All right, is there anybody against the bill? Come on up.
My name is Heidi Krosky, and I am here on behalf of the Virginia Animal Owners Alliance. I want to say in regards to Senator Marsden, we think this bill is well-intentioned. Our greatest concern, however, is in regards to the fact that it is changing the relationship between the business and the inspector. So having a business pay $100,000 or more to pay for the employment of an inspector is very, very different. I actually work at a zoo that's federally licensed. We pay a licensing fee, but if we establish this, say for the breeders, are we going to continue this down the road for other businesses that may not be as large as Envigo? So we're just worried about this opening the door and what may come down the road. Thank you.
All right, Delegate Ferris, you had a statement or question?
I had a motion.
Okay, hold on. Delegate Wilt.
So when we're talking about this officer oversight, what's, and forgive me if I missed it, what's the qualifications of that person?
That would be up to VDACs to determine and to provide the training in enforcing those kinds of things. I come from the juvenile justice world where I would be trained to go to other juvenile detention homes and with another team and provide oversight as to whether they were to be recertified or not based on the standards that I was trained to operate under.
I've got Delegate Orrock on here.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if they're speaking to the bill, in all due respect to the Secretary, I know where your heart is on this. But as I look at it, on the one hand, I've never known of us establishing an individual to inspect one facility and then pay for it. And secondly, we don't know if they are the only one, but if they are, if they're not, if others want to come in, they know up front there's a $100,000 pay-to-play fee annually.
Correct.
And The other thing, just as I look at the problem we're trying to resolve in Vigo, that's the problem. We passed Senator Stanley's 87, which says, as of March 1 next year, if you have federal problems, you're shut down. 2, we passed the record keeping. That's effective July 1. The state vet then on a quarterly basis will be getting documentation, any of which, my understanding, could trigger the state vet going in on the evidence they've received through the quarterly reports, thinking there's some violations or problems there. And then finally, with what we did in Senate Bill 604, where we're now saying these dogs and cats are now companion animals, thereby giving local animal control the authority to go in if they have a suspicion of cruelty in the housing or other violations. I think we've achieved your purpose. We're not shutting them down, but we're saying clean up your act and treat the animals humanely without imposing an additional $100,000 penalty on this business, so that I hope they'll use that either in salaries or cleaning up their act or whatever. I understand where you're coming from, but I think you've won.
Well, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Delegate Orrock, they're having to make a decision on whether to make a $5 million investment in the infrastructure in this facility. And with a one strike and you're out rule, without having this kind of oversight to deal with employees, the manager's not there all the time. And I would say that if indeed this is the only facility, there's nothing here that says VDAX could not have a three-quarter time or half-time or whatever person, to perform this function. But as I said earlier, Delegate Orrock, I'm also hoping that we can combine this into looking at this ever-increasing number of aggregate animals and give VDAX an opportunity to kind of pull that all together. They're still in the study process on pet stores. And I think this is a great first step in getting this person in. It's like the FDA. You pay fees, and they put FDA inspectors in meat processing plants, or USDA inspectors. This is not a new concept, and I don't share that that's going to be a big concern. And I think they'll need to be trained not to go to staff birthday parties and whatever, that they are a neutral enforcer of the rules.
Okay. So I heard to my left there was a motion to report, correct? All right, and then was that seconded? So we do have a motion before us to report.
Substitute motion.
Okay.
Lay on the table.
Okay, so the substitute motion has been made to lay on the table. That is a superior motion. Is there a second to that effect? There's a second to that effect. All right. Since that is a non-debatable motion, committee will record their vote. All right, the motion to lay on the table. Clerk, close the roll. Motion to lay 535 on the table succeeds with 6-3. If I may, real quick, I believe you pointed something out that probably needs to be looked at in the next year in regards to your statement of the growing industry of the pet stores and the need for a whole almost division.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, there is a position in the budget that they obviously have not used yet, because I think it's October when they think they might be finished with the pet store regulations that this person will go into, and it's an ever-increasing kind of problem. And I was hoping to marry all this up into a way, because you've seen the passion around the issue of how animals are treated when they're held in groups, and it is tricky business. It's hard to do. And so I'm trying to make that better.
Sorry to divert from our agenda, but so I guess that's in process.
Well, it is not at this point in time. I'm going to be having conversations to do that, but without an inspector to do this one, we're back to just somebody to look at pet stores. And local animal control in Cumberland County, I don't know what their capacity is, but I know the state veterinarian, he out there, he didn't know how to inspect a place. The inspectors have sheets of paper they go through and checklists and things to look at. You go out, you're doing a cook's tour. You look around and I don't see anything bad happening. So how do you, how do you know?
All right. So Senator Marsden, you had a 707 next.
Yes, sir.
I believe.
I do. This is on wildlife corridors. Let me give you the history on this, if I could. It's Senate Bill 707. 2 years ago, Delegate Bulova and myself got legislation through both our bodies and signed into law for VDOT and the newly renamed Wildlife Resource Management Agency to conduct a study on wildlife corridors. We had a spectacular success on Route 64 near Afton Mountain, where they put in fencing that drove animals to a point where they would cross under the road, and it cut down in the mid to high 90s the number of collisions with animals. It's something like $553 million a year in Virginia property damage. And obviously you can't be everywhere and stop every problem with wildlife. But the federal government has known this and is doing something, is that they're providing federal funding for us to match to fix some of these wildlife hotspots, if you will, that we come up with here in Virginia. I learned from, I think it's Captain Maxey at the State Police, that they tell their officers not to go on secondary roads after midnight because of the danger of wildlife collisions and the cost to the State Police for repairing vehicles, and plus the danger to officers. And it's a serious problem. It's obviously, I'm not going to get into all the benefits for animals to be able to move, to find food, breed, do whatever. But the thing that has concerned me most here is the danger to human beings. And once they finish this study, which they've been working on, and last year, Delegate Bulova and I got through legislation that said state agencies who in their planning process should include this if appropriate. For them to include looking at this. The feds are going to be providing money. We have money in the Senate budget to get started with this, but we need to create the fund. As to whether anybody funds it or not, that's up for the money committees to make a determination. There is money in the Senate budget. If that gets wiped out, that gets wiped out. But to have a fund that we can do. Remember, there are private organizations who could put money into that fund because they're interested in that. Communities could do it. Local governments could do it. Get federal matches for the money. So all you're really doing here is creating the corridor fund, and I think it's for a good purpose. We all know the dangers of striking animals. It was the biggest concern when I was director of the Department of Juvenile Justice, for having intake officers come out at night because they'd have 8-year-olds in the back seat of their car going to a police officer to decide whether somebody needed to be detained, and their boss's biggest concerns were them hitting deer. Now, can't solve all problems everywhere, but there will hopefully be revealed some hot spots that we can fix with federal help and save lives, save property, and help our animals move about the Commonwealth.
Okay, just to remind the committee, since the senator did point out that if this bill does report, we will need to report and refer. Delegate Simons.
So I have a question for the patron.
Delegate Simons, you have the floor.
So are you saying that there's actually some federal funding that if we create this fund that we could actually draw down money from the federal government?
That is correct. I don't know if the rulemaking has been done yet, but the money's been set aside in the infrastructure bill.
Okay, seems like we don't want to miss out on that. Thank you.
All right. Are there any other questions from the committee? All right. Hearing none, is there any testimony to the bill?
Mr. Chairman, Anna Kilias with the James River Association. The impacts to save lives and protect property are definitely paramount, but I also want to add that this grant fund and the funding at the federal level that it can help us bring down are also opportunities for enhanced fish passage. So helping our native and trophy species reach those upstream waters that they need in order to spawn. So we think this also offers opportunities for our boating and fishing industries and our outdoor recreation industries as well.
And Mr. Chairman, if I might, this money is also not going to come at the expense of highway maintenance funds. It's not like we're not going to be filling potholes if they decide to do this. This comes from a different source.
Mr. Chairman?
Delegate Will.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The last presenter, what was the thing about fish?
Basically, it's having funding to unclog. If I'm on the right, there are places that are so blocked that you can put in permanent improvements to allow fish to migrate upstream, to do different things to improve our fishing. I'm not really an expert on that. That was kind of brought up in recent months, but it helps our whole fishing environment by allowing fish to. Am I?
Yeah, and I can say often these are culverts under roads that just need to be upgraded to the bigger and better design so that fish can pass under them.
Mr. Chairman.
Delegate Goditis.
Again, a question for the speaker. So that falls under the definition of wildlife corridor fund, because that's all this just says wildlife corridor plans.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, aquatic species are one of the animal species that these corridors are able to enhance.
All right. We will take online testimony. We have 3 that are, or is there anybody else in the room? Okay. I'd like to start with Pat Calvert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Pat Calvert. I'm speaking on behalf of the Virginia Conservation Network, and for what it's worth, I own a beagle. Virginia is the 12th most dangerous state in the nation for it's considered high risk for wildlife and automobile impacts. So, and as it was mentioned by the Senator, $350 million is earmarked in the recently passed Infrastructure Jobs and Investment Act that is specifically for wildlife corridors, including aquatic species. So with that, we hope that you'll support this legislation. I know that's been supported with bipartisan support in creating the act itself, as well as the Wildlife Action Plan. Thank you, sir.
All right. Next up, we'll take Zachary Sheldon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Zachary Sheldon with the Nature Conservancy. To associate my comments with the previous speakers, and I want to thank Senator Morrison for carrying this legislation. We support this support bill.
All right. Last, Misty Booz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Misty Bowes, Director of Wild Virginia and a member of the Virginia Safe Wildlife Corridors Collaborative. And I want to speak to this recently passed federal infrastructure bill that includes a wildlife corridor crossing pilot program. And this program basically allows states to apply for up to $350 million in federal dollars to their state to improve passage for wildlife and reduce the number of collisions. So what's really important here is that Congress expressly tethered the likelihood of a proposed crossing being selected for that pilot on its ability to leverage federal investment by encouraging non-federal contributions. So that means that a state matching fund would make us more competitive for these federal dollars. So we just want to be sure Virginia is ready to take advantage of those funds when they open soon this year, and creating this fund will make us better poised. So there's going to be a short 5-year window for states to apply to access these funds, and a lot of states are already way ahead of Virginia in their planning. So we need to set this up now to be competitive. So we encourage you to apply, to vote in favor of SB 707. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. I don't believe there's any against, correct? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I might,
Senator Morrison.
is that the importance of getting this fund created. Let the money committees worry about what we can invest and can't, but the private sector has real interest in this as well. And I think it's a good thing, for a tool for the Commonwealth to have to do this. And whether the Senate budget money, how that's dealt with, it's up to the conferees. But it's given the tool.
All right. Thank you, Senator. There has been a motion to report, and that has been report and refer, right? Report and refer, and has been properly seconded.
Mr. Chairman?
Clerk will.
Speaking to the bill. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Senator, I guess I'm a little bit hesitant, but I will say, this corridor that you cited over, it's closer really to Charlottesville.
Mm-hmm.
But I know over the years, since I've been honored to be in the House, I try, that's the way I get here. And I remember one year, seemed like it was a buck. It was in deer season, it was rut. And it's like there were deer everywhere. I have not seen that since they've installed those fences along that corridor. I don't know how they determine where these things go. Maybe state police records where the accidents are, but I believe it's helped. Now, this storm that we just had wreaked havoc on those fences, so somebody's going to have to take care of that. But it's, I got to say, it's been impressive.
And it does, Mr. Chairman, it does retrain animals in terms of how they move that's a critical thing here. You're basically doing operant conditioning, if you will. And,
Okay. Fantastic. All right. There has been a motion and properly seconded to report and refer to appropriations. Clerk will open the roll and the committee will record their vote. Maybe I should abstain, considering how many times I've hit a deer. Clerk will close the roll. 2 rows. 2 rows. I was just making a joke. Clerk will close the roll. Senate Bill 707 will be reported and referred to appropriation, or recommended to report and refer 7-2.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the committee,
Marsden.
good to be back with old friends. Thank you.
All right, we are adjourned. Or is this the last one too?